we all knew what
his name's
Robert.
Groot, Kim. Okay.
Robert.
Welcome, friends and fans, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we are going back to the Marvel Universe with a cast of the award-winning Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy video game. So without further ado, let's do a team huddle and see who we find. Our first guest is an actor who joins us as the bona fide super genius and definitely not a raccoon known as Rocket. Please welcome Alex Weiner.
Hi, thanks for having me, Patty.
Oh, thanks for joining us, boss. How you doing in your part of the world?
I'm doing flarkin' great. There's a bit too much snow for my taste, but I hear spring's coming around the corner, so feeling good.
Well, I'm in Florida, so I can't comment on this snow thing that you speak of, but I've seen it and I've seen pictures of it.
Why don't you just send me a plane ticket? We'll come down. We'll have a few mimosas.
We'll go halvesies. How about that?
Cool.
Let's talk after this. Bring the rest of the gang out because I think they'll all want a piece of that action. And our next guest, he is an actor who joins us as the Flora Colossus, known as Groot. Please welcome Robert Montcalm.
Hey.
Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
That's good. And surrounded by plants. It's a nice affectation.
Can't have it any other way.
How you doing in your part of the world, sir?
Oh, great. I'm probably close to the part of the world that Alex is in as well, so looking out the lovely snowy window right now.
Oh, very nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. And next, he is an actor and stunt performer who joins us as the serial murderer, war hero, and occasionally grumpy Drax the Destroyer. Please welcome Jason Cavalier.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Patty.
Thanks, Jason. How you doing?
About the same as Alex and Bob. I'm snowed in. Gonna have to dig myself out after the appearance here, but other than that, pretty good.
Right on. Absolutely glad to have you. And next, she is an actress who joins us today as the adopted daughter of Thanos and the deadliest woman in the galaxy, Gamora. Please welcome Kimberly-Sue Murray.
Hi.
Hey.
You guys have me giggling. This is great.
Kimberly, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Patty?
I am doing well here in Fort Lauderdale, and we're getting ready at GalaxyCon. We have a Richmond show coming up this next weekend, so it's all crazy. Bells and whistles are popping here. So
Amazing.
Oh, absolutely amazing indeed. And speaking of amazing, our final guest is an actor who joins us as Peter Jason Quill, aka Starlord, which he will tell you every chance the character gets. Please welcome John McLaren.
Patty, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Good, boss. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I don't know about amazing, but I'm doing good.
We're not quite out of the woods yet from where we were, say, 3 years ago, but we're getting there. So good is new awesome.
We're very close. We're very close.
Getting there. We are so getting there. Friends, welcome to the GalaxyCon virtual stage. So glad to have you here today. Our team is going through the chat room right now, pulling out the questions for you. In the meantime, I'd just like to throw this out. Modern video game performance has come a long way. At first, it was practically nothing. Then we got into doing voiceover works. Now it's motion capture. Now it's become so incredibly challenging with multiple narrative options and the accompanying efforts. So for each of you, what was the craziest day that you had on the production?
All of them, every day. Every day.
No. Your sight line is here, over here. Yeah.
No, I think you said it. I think, when you have a script that is this robust with that many choices, you got to bring your A game really each and every day. I mean, there's in any given scene, you're branching off 3, 4, 5 times in different directions. And then sometimes branching off 3 or 4 different times within the scene. So it's a lot to keep track of. And, like I said, I mean, everybody brought it every single day, and you just got to come prepared to work and do the thing.
Yeah.
There, just to jump off of that, we're all 5 of us very used to being on the mocap volume together. And I think there were some pretty crazy days whenever we would have our fantastic supporting cast coming on. And then, you're managing sometimes 5 to 6, 7 different bodies on the volume. And then, if I can think back to that that battle of wits with Raker the first time you meet him. Just watching John having to navigate that like 10-minute sequence and all the paths and having another actor on scene. That was a pretty crazy day. And like, for the rest of us, we didn't have to lead that battle of wits, but John, you did that masterfully. And I felt the craziness for you there by watching you go through that.
I feel there were so many times during the shoot where it's like, oh, thank God I'm not John. Poor John.
Every day I said, thank God I'm not John, but for different reasons. But that's
fair.
It's a lot. I went through a lot of highlighters trying to keep track of the different paths.
I seem to recall that scene being done twice. I think it got rewritten. Does anyone remember it? We did it once, and then again, I think 6 months later, and it was a little bit different. Like maybe the first pass didn't quite work.
Yeah, or they changed something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough when
some slight script revisions.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough when you have that many different paths. You change one thing, it's going to affect things that may or may not even exist yet later or earlier in the script. And it's kudos and shout out to the writing team because brilliant. I don't know how you guys do it. It's incredible.
Video game writing has gotten to the level now where it's absolutely become its own discipline of, just like you said, with the multiple situations, multiple endings, and it's gotten so sophisticated now that the dialogue has to remain authentic throughout the entire thing.
Especially with such iconic characters, and the banter with these guys, like I feel like our banter scripts were more dense than our cinematic scripts. They wrote so much. It was very impressive.
I'm kind of glad we did the banters after, because by then we had all as a group developed a chemistry and a way of playing off each other that I felt really helped with the banters, that maybe that same energy wouldn't have been there earlier on.
Yeah.
But we did those after, and I think it really helped because we already had kind of gelled as a team by then.
Yeah.
It's one of the most. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, Alex.
My ship. Sorry. It's
my ship.
It's one of the best things Eidos did, I think, Eidos Montreal, was recognize how important it is to have a chemistry with people on set like this, and building a team like ourselves as actors, along with our amazing supporting cast, to really jive together. Like Jason's saying, we were doing the banters, and you could have probably recorded that with not everybody in the room individually in the booth. But I think, part of the amazing part of this game is that you get to hang out with the Guardians, you hear them banter constantly. And I doubt we would have been able to achieve that same level of realism and spontaneity if we weren't in the room. And we were also going through COVID at that time. So they managed to do this safely. They managed to do it efficiently as well, and deliver something that they set out to deliver from the beginning. So that was a really important part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did feel kind of strange walking into a big empty studio.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember in the early days when we would go in and cafeteria was full, everyone was at their computer, and then after COVID hit and walking into a gigantic empty place felt odd. But I didn't have much choice.
That would do it. So, Robert, do you have a crazy day you can share with us?
I mean, they were all kind of crazy. I was fortunate that I got to go in and do a number of other characters that I voiced in the game. So a lot of the craziness for me was getting to experiment doing a lot of weird alien voices that normally I don't do in other games. A lot of games, it's like, do your standard British accent. You're like, okay, fun. But this game actually let us go and do, like, I did a character that only spoke inhaling in the game, which was, which when I got the audition sides, I was like, okay, well, it's only a line here, a line there, and then it was paragraphs. And you're like, I can only suck in so much air before I feel like I'm going to explode. So days like that felt kind of crazy. Or I'd burn my voice for the whole day, and then at the end they're like, let's go back and do like a really emotional scene now with Groot. And you're like, I can barely talk. So, but no, every day was a wild ride with these guys. It was always fun to work together because there was always a curveball and there was always something fun. And one day you might be on a table that's being slid sideways and you're pretending to be sucked out an airlock. And,
That was the best day.
That was so fun.
That was amazing.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Like we haven't, but let's do it again.
I mean, if you want a job where you pretend to be a kid all day, I mean, it's performance capture.
Yeah. I said, I kudos to all of you for being. I still consider this to be a sort of a frontier media, really, and it's not going anywhere. And yeah, it's games and commerce-based entertainment is fusing towards this big direction. I don't quite know where it's going to go, but the nice thing is that it still relies on good writing and good acting.
Yeah,
at its core.
Good animation. Our animation team was amazing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, any video game that's going to have Fin Fang Foom, as a longtime Marvel fan, I'm already sold on. So
As am I.
Fin Fang Foom.
Who doesn't want to fight massive dragons?
I know.
Right.
Absolutely. Hey, we are good to go on our audience questions. So thank you for indulging my capricious curiosity. Let's go ahead and roll our first one. From Gwen, what do you think you have most in common with the Guardians character you voice?
I'll go first. He only speaks when necessary, and he's succinct and to the point.
Fair.
Oh, man.
I mean, Rocket, it's probably pretty easy. He talks a lot. I talk a lot. So, they're both blabbermouths. And I got asked once, are you as angry as Rocket? And I think it's a weird relationship for me with Rocket, where I do think I do have a bit of anger as Alex Weiner, which gives me a bit of an edge. But I think I use that in my acting. And it's something that I always connected with Rocket. Like, why does that anger come from? So I think we're both, maybe a lot of people are angry. I don't know. But I found that as a connection to Rocket for sure. I
always thought of Rocket as frustrated. It's like he's stuck behind a slow driver for his entire life.
Yeah.
I would love to be in that.
You're in the fast lane.
I'd love to be in that car with Rocket freaking out.
Let me drive. No one lets him drive.
My car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Chevy.
Gwen for Starlord, I think. For me, he's got a big heart. I like to think that I have, I care about people. I have a big heart. But like Starlord, I sometimes clumsily, make my way through life, and you don't always make the right decisions. And then I think I'm a lot like Starlord in that respect.
Fair. That'll do it.
I would say that, like Gamora, I am out to prove something to myself and make my maybe redefine something for myself, trying to prove something to myself.
Fair. That works.
I'd say for me, it's got to be a friendship, that I consider my friends to be my family. And this experience with these guys, we all grew together as a family. So,
oh,
yeah,
I love you too, Bob.
Forever, yeah.
For the little.
Gwen, great question to start us off with. Thank you for that. And here's one for Rosalind, who wants to know, what was your first acting job? And you can interpret this however you want. It could go all the way back to the school play or your first professional gig, or however you want to state it.
Wow.
Ooh.
So my first official acting job, like professional acting job, I found out last minute. Someone got fired, I guess, and I was runner-up, and they called me and they're like, "You're doing this movie and you're coming tomorrow." And I was just like, "Nah, okay." And I had to play, I had to be a volleyball player, and I'm not a volleyball player. But that was my first gig. I had no idea, no time to prepare, no time to freak out. I just had to jump in.
Right, there you go.
Amazing. I think my first, thank you for the question, Rosalind. My first ever gig was, I remember just showing up to the audition. They didn't give us anything ahead of time. It was a straight, what we called as a cold read. We didn't have any material beforehand. I just kind of showed up, first ever audition, terrified. Took 5 minutes, went in, threw it down, and thank you, Adrian Langley. It was his production. He's a good friend of mine to this day. This was probably 20 plus years ago. Ended up booking it, and it was a little passion project of his, a little short film, and kind of a horror-ish style. It's called Nightmare.
I love that you booked the first thing you auditioned for.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Whereas the rest of us were like 10 years in, and we're like, I still haven't booked.
It was probably because I was cold reading, and I was just like, well, screw it, for lack of a better word. And I was just like, blah.
Yeah.
There it is.
So everybody has a different path.
Yeah. I didn't book for like 10 years after that, but hey.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you on that too. It was just like I got a really weird bump early on, and then I started paying my dues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in. I was really, really lucky because I didn't book my first job like John, unfortunately, but I went to a couple auditions, and then I booked this great movie called Territories, which was
Wait, that was your first job?
That was my first job. Yeah.
What?
I know. So Kim knows it. It was shot in Montreal. Great director Olivier Abou, and it's about these Americans who are going to Canada for a wedding, and when they're coming back across the border, they're going on this like border crossing in the woods, and they get captured by the border patrolmen who torture them in the woods. Anyways, I played. It was a lead role, but I was a character who was mute. He couldn't talk, so it was the best gig to start because I worked for 40 days. I didn't have to learn any lines. I just had to like literally get tortured and react. And it was awesome. All these other people were stressing out about learning lines, and I'm like, I'm good.
You were like Rob. Rob just showed up with one line.
There you go. Yeah.
I think.
No, Alex, your mark is over to your right.
Yeah, there you go. I messed that up too. Yeah, sure.
So one of my earliest that was a film was Bon Cop, Bad Cop. And it ended up being like a special skills extra thing, but they needed somebody who could skate as a mascot for a hockey game. So for the audition, I took my school's mascot costume and I rollerbladed to the audition dressed as this giant blue dog.
Wait, you stole it?
Nice.
I was connected to clubs in the school, so I took it. And I was booked on site because they're like, you showed up in a mascot costume? Okay, you get the part. Your house call? Yeah, sure, take it. And then the role was, I was dressed as a giant beaver representing a Montreal hockey team, skating around all day. So that was me waving, and while the guy's getting like tortured and a tattoo put on him on the TV, there's a happy dancing beaver. I'm the happy dancing beaver. You know?
I love that.
Rob, first job ever. Also, sweatiest job ever?
Oh, I had to take it off because I was dripping and lay down on the ice with my hands on the ice, and were worried I was going to pass out from excessive energy.
Wow.
I mean, those mocap suits get pretty
sweaty.
Pretty sweaty.
Speak for yourselves, guys.
and to anyone out there who has performing or acting aspirations, Robert's story is the exception to prove the rule. Usually you don't want to show up.
Don't show up as a mascot at an audition. No, that's not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Don't show up. Don't show up as bad.
Yeah, it did.
My first gig was actually pretty sweet. I was cast as the lead in a teenage soap opera, that first Canadian North American daily soap opera that ran from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day on CTV. It was non-union, so I wasn't paid very much, but it was steady work for almost a year. And then the show was sold all over the world, so I had friends who would travel the world and come back and tell me, hey, I saw you speaking Spanish. I saw you speaking German. So the show played everywhere. It didn't play in the United States, but it did become the template for a really well-known series that was similar called Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, weird, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow. Wait, so did you guys all get paid on your first gig?
Yeah, I got paid, but it was like $100 a day. It was really like non-union. It was really cheap. It was my first gig out of theater school.
I was not paid.
Yeah,
I just did it. Talking about paying the dudes, I was just like, "Yep, I'm in. Let's go."
Robert wasn't paid enough. Rosalind, fun question. Thank you so much. Yeah, what do we have next? And here's one from Mia. In your opinion, which Guardian has the most interesting backstory?
Ooh,
the one I'm most curious about actually is Groot, because we don't know too much about him.
Yeah.
What happened to his people? How did he get, entered into the group? How did Rocket and Groot meet? I'm curious.
Oh, do we know that?
Well, yeah, in the game, Rocket captured Groot, and then they teamed up after. Like, he broke him out.
Yeah,
I agree. Though I think
that's stated in the game. I don't remember that.
It's in a discussion with Rocket where you talk about how he met Groot.
Is it one of the side discussions?
Yeah, you got to find something in the game, like a collectible.
Okay, I guess I got to go play again.
Hey, new game plus, Jason.
Yeah, I tried that and something happened. I guess I'll have to fix it and try again. I'm taking my time on my second time through. I'm trying to find all the costumes and all the stuff.
Oh yeah,
nice.
I really love Drax's backstory with his wife and daughter. I think that that's really beautiful and heartbreaking.
I got lucky.
Yeah,
I was given a lot of great material by the writers to work with to really flesh the character out. I really got lucky.
And they still managed to keep a little bit of a tether to his original comic book origin. That's what I liked about it, about his family.
Well, the writers were great about that, to try to, be inspired and stay true as much as possible.
They had two balancing acts. They wanted to give credit to the comic book, and they wanted to also give credit to the cinematic version, which everybody's sort of used to, because they took some liberties from that. But it worked. To me, it's always, I don't care about the canon, but if you just get the spirit of the characters correct, that's all I want. That's all I want. You could say that Bruce Wayne was rocketed from a doomed planet, but as long as he acts like Batman, I'm cool. Hey, Robert's back.
Yes, I am. My computer just keeps crashing. I don't know why.
It's because you keep watering your plants near the
next
computer.
to it. That's true. That's exactly.
You were in a nice neutral pose, so you had us fooled for about a minute and a half.
That's good. That's pretty much what I do in the game anyway. Just stand there. Try not to distract.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. The question on the table is there a character whose backstory you'd like to see fleshed out a little more?
For me, it's Rocket. I think I want to see his backstory and all the where he comes from, all the crazy experiments that made him who he is. That's something I would love to see. That'd be really cool.
I'd be curious to know what was the goal with creating him.
Yeah,
to make him that way. Did they make were they intending to make a whole army of those?
Raccoons.
Well,
like the Clone
sentient
Wars
animals, and I mean that's kind of the beauty about Rocket. It's a beauty, but not a beauty. Where he's so reserved, he's so guarded about this stuff, and we all are. All our characters are guarded about certain aspects of their past and their traumas. But I feel like Rocket, it's hard to get that out of him. And I love how the game touches on Lila. I love how it touches on the Kree scientists and Half-World. It's kind of like what Patty's saying. It's like, just that balancing act. Because in the MCU, I don't think we ever talk about Lila, or we don't. It doesn't really get shone on too much. I'd be interested in learning a bit more of that. But I agree with the Groot thing. I think Groot is such a mystery because it's such a powerful. I'll let you take it over, Rob. I mean, it's such a powerful statement. The last Flora Colossus, the last of your race. What happened? How did that go down?
I mean, it was definitely interesting to read the backstories that were provided to us by the writing team. Again, shout out to the writing team. That was absolutely phenomenal on this game. We had the show Bibles for this, and just the copious amounts of notes and scripts. You'd get a script and you're like, okay, how much 1,000 pages. Okay. That's a bit of reading, just a light reading. My lines didn't change all that much, but they always did write intentions into it. Which
that was cool. Though. So we all knew what
his name's
Robert,
Groot, Kim. Okay.
Robert.
It was super. It would be fun to obviously explore more of the backstory, but even from what I read, it was obviously it's very sad, it's very raw and emotional, and the only real nod to it that in the game that talks about or like has a moment about what his past might have been is in one look that lasts for like a couple of seconds, where after we come out of the promise, and I'm asked, "What did I see?" and I turn and I say it to Rocket. I am Groot, of course, is what I say. But it's about what I saw in the promise, and I had something very particular in mind of that, because if you can imagine losing everybody that you love and then seeing them again.
Oh my God. I remember that moment, man. I remember that look. Because I came in to give you an eye line, and man, I like started tearing up too. And we have a connection like as characters and as people, but it's like that was beautiful, dude.
They put it. I was happy in the new trailers that they showed of the behind the scenes of us doing the mocap. That was one of the clips that they used. Was that shot? I was like, yay! Good.
Right on. Mia, great question. Thank you so much for that one. What do we have next? From Morrow Kitty. What is everyone's favorite quote from the game?
Shivering Titwitch.
that is up there for sure.
I love that one so much.
Oh man, that's such a hard question. How many lines of dialogue do we have in this game?
So much. I have one that's become my favorite on another playthrough, and it's when like we just got off the rock, and we got Carell. We see Carell on the prompter first, and we find out that Starlord was dating Carell in the past, and then Rocket just looks at John, and he's just like, "You slept with a cop." Like I love that line so much, because it's it's the honor, it's the thieves code. You never involve yourself with a cop, and I always wonder, I'm like, how the heck how does Rocket know what cops are? I guess you have space cops, but like it felt like such a Terran thing to say. But I love that moment, and it's such a thing that Rocket would say. So I think that's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. Fair, yeah, that's good.
I always love the scene when we're in Cosmo's mind prison and Alex and I start barking at each other.
Oh yeah.
We slowly descend into becoming dogs, and we have a full-on barking match.
That's the
not really a
craziest
line,
day.
but-
That was the craziest day on set.
Yeah.
Baby.
And I love, Alex, you were kind of channeling a chihuahua. Like you were very high pitched and you were sort of bouncing around.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
We didn't even plan that, John. Under the radar, I'm like, I'm gonna go tiny dog. You're gonna go big dog.
I'm gonna go big dog.
We're gonna do this.
Oh man.
I think mine was when we come up to some random computer terminal, and we discover through messing around with it that we suspect that Starlord is Nikki's father. And I say, congratulations, Peter Quill. You will make a terrible father.
Yeah.
There's many, but that one was fun.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There was a line, I don't think it made the game, here's your salad.
Oh, here's your salad.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
That all of us were like,
It was a banter.
I was a little disappointed
that no one
there was
understood.
no reference to it anywhere.
I know. Well, we got
here's
this
your
line.
salad.
Here's your
It's
salad.
like, remember when this happened? Blah blah blah. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then John goes, here's your salad.
Here's your
And
salad.
And then Rocket goes, thank you. And we were like, what is this line? So we're like, it must have been a sarcastic thing that somebody said in the past. So we turned it into a joke, and it never made the game, probably because we didn't read it properly.
For me, it was, aren't you a little young to be a member of the Nova Corps? Aren't you a little old to have that haircut?
Boom.
Good one, Nikki.
And then the animation afterwards from behind, he's like, what?
There are so many great lines.
It's so good.
Great writing.
Yeah. Morrow Kitty, great question. And let's roll another one. Here's one from Gobe. Hope I pronounced that right. Ooh, what is a dream role for each of you?
Ooh, okay. Can I go first?
Absolutely.
So I used to have very long hair and I had to chop it off. And it was such a, I don't know, it was a weird experience. But to detach yourself from what is almost like your femininity. Anyway, so since I have short hair, but I'm like, ooh, I'd love to have like a buzz cut. I want to play G.I. Jane. I want like a reboot of the Demi Moore movie, and I want to play G.I. Jane. and I'm gonna get ripped.
Let's put it out
Yeah.
there. Let's just
I'm
put it
gonna
out
put
into
it
the
out
universe.
there.
Put it
There
out
we go.
there.
Oh my
I'm
god,
ready
yes.
to shave my hair. I'm gonna get super jacked, and I'm gonna play G.I. Jane. There you go.
And that's a great action movie. It's
I
kind of
loved
been
it.
undervalued. It's kind of fallen beneath the cracks in the past couple of years. Yeah. No.
Keep training, Kim. Keep
and then
training
the
because it'll
other
come
one-
your way.
And then the other one is I'd love to do if ever they do like an Alanis Morissette biopic,
Mm.
and it should be called Jagged Little Pill, or maybe a movie based on that album. I want to play the lead role. That's it. I've clearly thought a lot about this.
I think you'd kill it as an Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
I support
She's my
this.
jam.
We know you had your heart set a jagged little pill, but pills. This. What do you think of One Hand in My Pocket?
I'll take
Yes.
it. I'll
It
take
translates better in the European markets.
it. Oh.
Who's got another?
Well,
I'll
yeah,
answer.
Jason,
I'll
take it.
answer. Yeah, mine has already kind of happened for me. If you go on YouTube, am I allowed to plug something?
Absolutely. You can plug
Oh,
anything
okay.
you want here. Yeah.
If you go on YouTube and look up a short film called Past and Future Kings, it's a short I did a few years ago, and basically in the short, I got to play every iconic badass ever. Got to be the Western hero, got to be the post-apocalyptic hero. Only thing missing is the astronaut and maybe something else, but it was sort of like a concept, kind of like Highlander. And if that could get turned into a television series or a feature, I'd be really happy. So that it was probably that.
That's awesome.
That was a
cool.
fantastic short, Jason. I watched it.
Oh, you saw it?
Cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Cool. Thanks.
This is not a specific role, but it's actually something I've been putting out into the universes. I'm a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica, the remake.
Yeah.
I watched it multiple times, and I found out that they are developing a new one. So I would just love to have an opportunity to be involved with that show, and maybe like a Gaius Baltar type. Obviously, that's kind of what my casting would be, but some kind of role in that universe because I love Battlestar Galactica, and I always try to plug that show to my friends who are like, I just got off Game of Thrones or I just got off The Sopranos. What's a great show? And I'm like, Battlestar Galactica. It's not what you think. It's not just a sci-fi. It's like the West Wing in space, like give it a shot. And they're always like, nah. So my mission in life is to get more people to watch Battlestar.
I resisted it. I was just like, I didn't poo-poo it. And then finally it was just like, give it a whirl. I think for 3 nights in a row, I was okay. Just one more episode. I was up till I think till 4 a.m, and going to work for 3 hours sleep for almost 3 or 4 times. But I was marathoning them in the DVD days. So,
Wow. That's
cool.
commitment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Mine's pretty close to Alex's. Like any sort of sci-fi kind of space epic would be my jam. Like I grew up watching a lot of like Star Trek, Star Wars, that kind of stuff. Like we got a couple of pretty big Trekkies in my family, and if I could somehow attach myself to a project along those lines, I mean, if it's Star Trek or Star Wars, amazing. But any sort of sci-fi space epic action would be incredible. I mean, to be honest, Guardians itself was kind of a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
I've also been a lifelong gamer. I still game to this day. So continuing in that line of work and in this space would be
well, Star Trek and Star Wars are not going anywhere, so those opportunities are there, and hopefully maybe get on the ground level of something new.
Yeah,
I'd say
Bob,
for me,
what about you?
anything kind of Tolkien inspired. I mean, Aragorn is my favorite character. We literally have the White Tree of Gondor painted on our wall behind the bed.
amazing.
My wedding was half Lord of the Rings, half Hayao Miyazaki. So
The
anything.
reason I'm an actor is because of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I cry when I watch those movies.
it's my wife and they're our favorite films. Totally. And that's, I also specialize in weapons work. I have a sword wall down the hall of weapons that I use. And I work a lot with Jason in video games doing stunt work. And anything in that kind of medieval fantasy style world. Oh, I would love
Yeah.
that.
So we're all nerds.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Is what
In
it's
our own way.
all about.
Yep.
Yes.
Well,
I keep waiting for somebody to let's just do the Dungeons and Dragons series.
Oh
And
yeah.
each season is an entirely different party. So you have a core group of actors, and the next season is an entirely different party, an entirely different cast, and their adventure. Just every season, just do
That'd be cool.
it like that.
It should be
Incredible.
like American Horror Story, so it's the same
Yes.
cast but different
Yes.
characters. Because I love
too.
that. I love seeing an
Yeah.
actor do different things. Like it's just so fascinating to see like the range. Anyway,
It
yeah.
was
Patty,
like
let's talk
Rob
after
on
the
our
show.
game was like that.
Absolutely. Oh, Gob, great question. Thank you so much for that. And what do we have next? From Maz, which scene was the most difficult for you to perform?
oh, that's easy.
Well, lay us on us then.
Okay, well, obviously, I had a few heavy scenes in the game, if you remember. So for those, when they came up in the schedule, basically everything in my life got put on hold, and all I did was work on those scenes for like 2 weeks and basically live in that world until the day we performed it, and then I was able to get it out of my system. And my fear was basically because part of Drax's voice and part of the rhythm and the delivery, it's all artificial. It's not exactly how I really speak,
Wait,
But
you're not Drax? Sorry?
not completely, And my worry was if I hit an emotional beat, would I be able to keep the emotional beat genuine, but also all the layers of things that I developed, that the way the character speaks, and keep it all consistent. So for me, that was kind of a big stress sandwich. But
the emotional scenes are hard. Gamora's emotional scene was hard, not because I'm a dramatic actor. It's like I love diving in the deep end. But for me, being my first voice job, I was losing my voice. We were doing it nonstop, and I was getting so emotional, and my voice was just. I was so worried. I'm like, I feel like all of us came into work, we were thinking like, oh my God, are they going to fire us? And that day I was like, I'm being replaced for sure. But Daryl, our amazing director, Daryl Purdy, kept saying like, don't worry, like actually lean into it because it's working for the scene. But I was actually really worried that the scene wasn't going to translate because my voice was just breaking. Like, I mean, it kind of is right now. I'm not a voice actor. I guess I am. I'm gonna stop saying that.
You are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. That emotional scene. We all know which scene that is.
Yeah. I'm just gonna jump in again. I know I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. I need to say thank you to every single one of you again, because you have no idea how much me trusting you helped me be able to just be comfortable and perform. And I don't know if I can accurately convey that to someone that doesn't know what it's like to perform and open yourself up in a scene like that.
Yeah.
But if I didn't trust all the people I was working with, it wouldn't have worked. So, I owe the success of some of that to you guys as well.
Right back at you, Jason.
Yeah, right back at you, for sure.
Thank you. I mean, to riff off of that, Jason, I mean, specifically, I know Mass asked what scenes, like, I mean, if we can just talk about the Drax scenes, I mean, like with, letting your family go, or that scene at the Rift, which is always a favorite of mine because people can completely miss that scene in the game just by virtue of what path you choose. Yeah. I can't say enough either about you guys and being across from you, because it really it's a team. It takes two. It takes five. But to have people that are giving you 110, 120% right back at you, it makes a world of difference, as an actor. And in those scenes with you specifically, Jason, there's Kim, the scene that you were alluding to. I'm lucky because as Starlord, I get to have those scenes with pretty much each and every character in the game. You know, there's scenes with Carell and Nikki, and everybody's just brought their A game 150% each and every day. And there was multiple times where we'd do a scene, especially those heavy ones, and we'd cut and you'd look around the room and the room's crying. Like, and it was easily the most wildest experience I've had as an actor yet. It was incredible. Thank you.
Nice.
I guess it's like what John and everybody's saying, you know, all the characters have these very dramatic moments in the game that seems to be the pinnacle of, you know, them getting over their trauma. Rocket certainly has it when he gets over his fear of water. But I guess I've thought about this question because I've got it a few times, and I think I'd like to say that probably the hardest scene for me was more closer to the beginning of the shoot when we were shooting. One of the first scenes I shot as Rocket was when we were with Lady Hellbender, and Rocket's getting sold, and Rocket has to go, "What are you talking about? Like, I'm not worth this amount of money, blah, blah, blah." And I was still getting a handle on like how to manage Rocket's anger. And I think Rocket was kind of a character that easily could have gotten way too cartoonish or way too big all the time. And the reason a character like that works is because you show variety, you show subtlety sometimes, and you know, you show a little bit of everything, and you color the palette in that way. Daryl, our director, Daryl Purdy, was fantastic at the beginning at helping me kind of make sure that we weren't going at 80, 90, 100% all the time and balancing that. But that was really the scene where I felt like I was struggling to achieve those different levels. So that was definitely one of the more challenging ones, but it's just a little insight into, I guess, what we all experience perhaps as actors is like, I put, you know, that was challenging at that point. And then maybe 2 years later, I shot that dramatic scene. And by that point, I had spent so many scenes with Rocket. I had spent so much time. I felt like I was in a place where I could walk into that and I knew just to let whatever is going to happen. But yeah, the difficult part was the beginning and was understanding, especially because he's the more animal, he's the least human out of all of them. So I had to resist some temptation sometimes to go a little bit big and cartoony.
Yeah.
But it's hard in the beginning because you're trying to like wrap your head around so much, and things are moving fast, and you don't really have the voice yet or the physicality. Like 2 years in, we were just like, you know, you could throw anything at us and we would just produce it.
Exactly.
But in the beginning, yeah, you're totally right. It's like finding your groove.
Yeah.
And being able to nestle on that character for that long, to begin an opportunity to play a character for an extended period to really get your synergy.
Yeah.
It
And
really
like when
becomes a part of
COVID
you.
hit, I think there was a few months, at least 3-4 months where we weren't shooting. So, you know, and then after that, it was like maybe once a month we'd shoot for like a week. And so every month you have to like tap back in, and there's no warm up. You just have to like show up.
Absolutely.
I would take 2 weeks to basically live the character. Like once I got the script, I would take the 2 weeks and work on the stuff just to live the character again, and you know, find the rhythm and do the stuff. And then, like you said, on the schedule on the day, it's go time, and we got to do it. You know.
Yeah. There you have it. Maz, great question. Thank you. I think we have time for one more. Let's see if we can go on a really fun one. And this comes from Joe C. If you were all in a band, what would your band be named?
The Gardeners.
Starlord band, man.
The Gardeners.
The Gardeners. Oh my God, yes.
Gardeners.
The
Gardeners of the
Farkers.
Galaxy.
And we'd be a really kitschy band.
What are you talking about? We'd be awesome. We'd be so metal. Oh,
But as long as there's some nice 70s disco references, I'm cool with it.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
bell bottoms, big collars out to here.
we would be a wedding band. I think we would play all the hits.
90s pop.
I was always partial to names that made no sense, like the Electric Thumbtack.
Yeah.
Too bad, man.
We could be like the Electric Gardeners. I'm really attached to the Gardeners, guys.
I like electric gardeners. I think that works. That absolutely works. Friends, has been an absolute delight. Any final words before we take our leave?
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for the support. It's been amazing. Come and find us. We're online. We love to interact with all of you. And much love. Mwah.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. You guys have been incredible. the art, the support, the kind words.
There's no games if people don't play them. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely true. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you all. Once again, thank you for joining us here on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and thank you for those great questions. Hope to see everybody again soon. Until then, bye-bye, take care, and remember, smiles are free, so spend them often.